Hi, I'm Angie Veman, and welcome to Totally Clutch. This is the podcast for women like you to find ways to simplify your business and personal life. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. All right, welcome back to another episode of Totally Clutch. This is the Clutch Businesses podcast and vlog. I'm Angie Veman, your host, and today we're going to be talking about how to launch an online course. And we've got a really special guest with us today, Destini Copp. So over the last couple of years, it's really hard actually to spend time online without seeing somebody talking about their new online course or the course that they've been offering for a while, right? And so it's probably pretty reasonable to assume that a lot of us have actually considered having our own or creating our own online course. So Destini is going to talk to us about what a course could do for our business and what it would take to get there. So she helps entrepreneurs scale their digital products with automated sales funnels, and that really reduces their reliance on offering services or even freelance work. So she also has a podcast. I'm just going to put this out there right away. I'm sure she'll talk about it too, but she also has a podcast that you should check out called Course Creators MBA. So if you are interested in launching a course, that's a great thing to check out. It's got a lot of really great content and really valuable information. So welcome to the show, Destini.
Angie, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, I'm super excited too. I think this is such a great, it's an awesome topic. I love what courses can do for businesses, and I actually love the idea. I think, a lot of us, there are a lot of businesses where it's like, duh, of course makes sense for your business. But there are also a lot of businesses, I think that isn't, they're not top of mind and could really benefit from this kind of product and adding this type of revenue stream. So I'm super pumped to talk about it, and thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, do you want to tell us a bit about your background and the work that you do?
Absolutely. So I have been in corporate marketing for many, many years and really got burnt out from that, which I'm sure, your audience can relate to. I was working a ton of hours and I took a step back and I decided, what do I want to do with my career? Well, at that point in time, I had young kids at home and I was looking for a job that I could do out of my house. Now you're going to think that I was talking about online entrepreneurship, but not yet. This was years ago, back in 2005, when teaching online at the university level was just getting started. So I got a job teaching online out of my house. I didn't have to go to the university or anywhere else to teach. And I did that for many, many years. Started as an adjunct faculty member and then worked my way up. I was at an assistant dean role at one time, a program director role, and finally I ended up as an associate vice chancellor of academic affairs. And I got burnt out again on that. And one of the things on my bucket list was to start my own online business. And I took a step back and I said, well, what could I do? Well, I knew online courses, right? By that time I'd created, 200 to 300 of them. I lost track at this point in time. And I knew marketing and I knew I could help entrepreneurs out there create their online courses and market them. Now, I had a lot of twists and turns in my business, which we can talk about today. But I also did some service work in that during that time period in my own online business, which I'm thankful for. But it kind of led me to really go full force, if you would, into really focusing on online courses and making that digital product revenue 100% of my business, which is where I am today.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And so I guess along those lines, it took you a while to get there. It took a few iterations. And I imagine that also just the industry as a whole kind of helped you, helped guide you in that direction. So like, how has the digital product industry grown over the last, couple of years, the last 10 years? And what do you think it's going to look like going forward?
So it has changed tremendously,
Yeah.
especially in the past few years, right? So when I first started teaching online, it really wasn't well known, and it certainly wasn't well respected as it is today. Now, it kind of got into the entrepreneur market where, you had some entrepreneurs and people who wanted to teach what they know, maybe teaching piano lessons, or, somebody wants to learn how to, do watercolor painting. So it kind of started branching out into that. But really, I would say in the past year and a half, online learning has exploded, right? Because we've had all of our kids at home, we had all of the college kids at home, and they were learning online. So now people all over the world know that this is something that they love to do, right? Because they've gotten a taste of it, and they know that they can achieve whatever transformation that they want to achieve. So if they want to learn another language, or if they want to learn how to play the guitar, they can do that with an online class. So the industry itself, I think the latest report I saw, the industry for online learning is around a $350 billion industry. Now, there's a lot that's in that, right? You got the higher ed and that sort of thing, but it is growing, and I definitely continue to see it grow as more and more people across the world, have been exposed to it.
Yeah. And are there certain topics and certain things that you see doing better than others? I mean, because I ask that from the place of, so yeah, we've all been home for a year and a half straight, and you would think that, wow, what a great opportunity to learn a bunch of stuff that you've always had on your list. And at the same time, with everybody else at home, kids at home, all of those types of things, it almost kind of feels for a lot of people like we have less time, yet the industry is exploding. So, there's got to be people are using it, right? But I guess I'm wondering if that means that there are certain things that are doing better than others, certain topics.
So I definitely think that there is a need out there for individuals, entrepreneurs, business owners to teach what we know, right? So, what I generally tell people, there's not a right or a wrong course to build, right? You need to make sure that there's market demand out there, which you can easily do a little bit more, do a little bit of research to figure out if there's market demand for it. But there's going to be somebody out there that's interested in learning from you. And I'll go a little bit step further with this. There are some things that are kind of going out the window, if you would. And one of the things that I would say is long video courses where you have a talking head there. Everybody can probably relate to that. With their professor sitting there, just have a talking head there and going on for an hour and a half. Nobody's going to sit there and watch that at their computer for an hour and a half. But there's different things that you can do to get people interested and want to complete your course. One of it would be keeping the videos short. Even at the university level, we found that students, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Angie, you like short videos, right? It doesn't have to be TikTok short, right? It could be, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, but students are wanting to have quick wins and kind of go through the course Netflix style, if you would. So that's one thing. The other thing that I've seen a huge increase in lately, and this is a really good news for people who want to create a course, is people love mini courses. They absolutely love it because they give somebody a quick win. Now, it doesn't mean you need to have a full portfolio of mini courses, but when you think about creating your first course, what I generally recommend is people start with a mini course. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the reasons for that is it's easier for them to create. So if you're just if you're new into this course creation process, start with a mini course. It could be a course that has 5 or 6 lessons in it with some supplemental material, but it gives your students a quick win. A mini course, another reason why I like them, they can be repurposed in different ways. For instance, they can be used as a tripwire. So if somebody signs up for your lead magnet, on that thank you page, you have this tripwire mini course offer that says, wait before you go. I have something that you might be interested in it. It's easier to sell like mini courses through like an email sequence. You can also put them on the front page or on a little tab on your website and let people know about them. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with mini courses. So that's where I like to kind of point people to initially when they're first getting started.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so mini courses, you're talking about like what are the pocket products or whatever, the like people are selling them for $27 or $49 or something like that.
Yeah, they call them different things. I've heard them called starter courses. I've heard them called tiny offers, but it really is just a mini course. And I have several of them out there, but it's just a mini course that gives your students a quick win. So
Mhm.
what I generally like to think about, if you are, I'll give you an example. Let's just say that you're a service provider, right? A service provider, and you help people build Squarespace websites. Now, your business has grown over the years, and your rates have gone up. So maybe you charged $5,000 to create a website. So there's a client that wants to particularly they want to work with you, but they just can't afford, that $5,000 price tag right now. But they really just need to get a landing page set up and maybe, a page with their services on it. You could give them a short mini course just so they could get started in Squarespace. So when they get their business up and running, they can hire you to do the full-blown, the full-blown website in the future. So just think about what's kind of keeping your clients or your students or, your customers from moving forward, and think about what you could give them to kind of get them over that hurdle.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons why I love courses so much. And we should talk about this. That obviously there's a variety of courses and a variety um, of formats and prices. And so, an online course can cost, $20,000 or it can cost $27, right? Like there's a huge range.
Yeah.
But what I love about them so much is that they do allow, so as we become experts, more and more experts in the fields that we're in, our prices are going to raise to reflect that. And that means that there's an audience that we are no longer, it's just not attainable, it's not as accessible, our services are not accessible to them, but the value that we provide still is. And so that's one of the things that I love so much about them, is that you can reach an audience, you can start to, I'm all about, for businesses that are starting out, I'm all about, like, it doesn't have to be perfect right now. Like, don't build the business of your dreams necessarily. Like, start getting some revenue and then start, and then continue to increase and grow and perfect and all of that kind of stuff. And so I think that courses are such a great opportunity for people who are interested in learning these different things, but don't quite have they haven't grown to that point where they can really invest in, whether it's a coach or a web designer or whatever it is, for they can't make that $20,000 investment. And of course I'm just making up $20,000, but like they can't quite get there, but they will eventually as they continue to hone their craft. So yeah, I love it. I think it's such a great way. And so I guess along those lines, can you talk about, so I'm just babbling about what it does for the person actually buying the course and taking the course, but can you talk about how a business itself would benefit from adding a course to their revenue streams?
Yeah. So I like to set up the majority of my online courses, they're set up in what we call automated or evergreen sales funnels. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on that. But basically, what that means is somebody signs up for one of the lead magnets that I have. And I'll just give you an example of one that I have on my website right now. It's a mini course. So they sign up for that mini course, and they may have found me through a podcast. They may have seen me on the social media or just came to my website. I get a lot of organic SEO traffic. So they see this mini course and they sign up for it. And throughout the mini course, I am promoting my membership. So my membership is one of the digital products that I have. In addition to hearing about my membership as they go through the mini course, I'm also sending them emails, kind of directing them through the course material, but also letting them know that, hey, just so you know, I have this membership you might be interested in. Now, this is what we call an automated or evergreen sales funnel. So people are coming in from all over, and I have a lot of different traffic strategies, which we can go into details here if you'd like, but they're coming in from all over. They're seeing this mini course or whatever lead magnet I have. I do have a couple of them, but that's my main one. They're seeing that, they're signing up, they're going through the sales funnel, and a percentage of them will sign up for the membership. Now, this is, what we call evergreen or automated. It's also considered, passive income, right? Because I'm not doing anything necessarily. I'm not touching them as they go through that sales funnel. Now, obviously, I'm doing some hand holding in the membership and things like that, but that's what I'm referring to. Versus what I'm doing in September, which is a live launch. So I'm hosting a virtual summit. I've been working on it for, by the time the summit gets here, 3 months. So it's been a ton of work. It's taken up a ton of my time. I have 30 plus speakers in it, but that's a live launch. And at the end of that summit, I'll also be promoting my membership. So that is not considered an evergreen or automated sales funnels, just to kind of give you an idea of the two different sales funnels. But from a service provider or a freelancer or whomever is listening today, what a digital course can provide to you is that extra income in your business that you might not have gotten otherwise. So going back to our Squarespace example that I just mentioned, that particular client or future client, I should say, really wants to hire you in the future. They just don't have the budget for that $5,000 website right now, but you can give them a quick win and get them up and started so that when they're ready to work with you, they'll know who you are.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that. It is, I think the other thing too, just to draw attention to, is that the course can be, and you've already said this, but I think it's just important to draw that connection that it's, evergreen is great because you kind of front load the work. And so, you do a couple of months of work, and then it can live on for years and years and years after that without you having to do really anything. And I guess the other part of it is that the content, it's not, so it is a lot of work, right? And we should talk about this. It is a lot of work to create these courses, these online courses. But the content is usually around what you already know. So if you can put a camera in your face for 10 minutes and talk about what you talk about with your clients every single day, that you're able to offer it at a lower price because you're not sitting there face to face with them, but you're giving them all the same juicy details that you are your other clients, or maybe a section, like a subsection of what you're working on with your clients. But it's not like it's not like sitting down and writing a book necessarily, or maybe it is. I don't know. The way that people write books these days is actually pretty similar, right? They take all the content that they've created and they put it into a book format, but it's, you're not having to do months and months of research. It's just doing what you already know.
I agree. So I've done the book. I launched this year, and I've done a lot of courses. And I would say what I think they're both valuable, right? I like both of them. What I like about the courses, especially when you're teaching what you know or teaching what you are already doing in your work, whether it's freelance work or service-based work, is almost like documenting your step-by-step process. And if you think about it that way, then it's much easier, right? To kind of think about how you would structure your course and how you would go about actually doing the videos. And the other thing I just want to mention, because I think this is so important, and a lot of people get tripped up on this, they think it's difficult to record online course videos. And the reality is, it's not. It could be a simple screen share of your computer if you're showing somebody some software, or it could just be a screen share of a PowerPoint slide or Google Slides that you put together with your voiceover. It's really that simple. Now there's some people out there, they get really fancy and
Right.
they have them talking and then they go to the slides and do it, but your students really aren't looking for that. And keep in mind, they're also looking for very short videos. So they would rather have a 5-minute video that covers what they need to know than a 30-minute video that covers the same thing.
Mhm.
So, it really, and there's also, I'll go ahead and mention, there's a lot of free tools out there that you can use to record your videos,
Yeah.
like a lot of free screen type recorder tools, and you can just sign in, no cost to you, just record your videos, and then you're done.
And a lot of editing software now too. Like that used to be the barrier too. It's like, okay, I did this, I messed up in a few parts and now how do I get that out of there? And now there's so much editing software that makes that really easy too. Yeah, and I think it
Absolutely.
might be useful to talk about too that um, y- the video quality or you being on camera is not necessarily like how high quality the video is does not necessarily tie into how much you charge for it. So, like, I just finished a course. I paid. It was a certification, and it was like $5,000, and it literally was what you're talking about. It was an awesome course. It was so freaking worth it. But they just had the PowerPoint up, and you never saw her face, and you could actually tell that she was reading from a script, because I think that's part of the challenge too. I know for me initially that was really hard to like step away and ad lib, and because you want to get in so much information, you want to make sure you don't forget something, and you want to do it really quickly. And when we're ad libbing, it usually takes a little bit longer. But so $5,000, she had her PowerPoint on the screen the entire time, and she was reading from a script, and it was totally worth it.
And I just want to give you a tip on that, or anybody who's listening a tip on this. So, what I do when I record my online course videos, I have my screen recorder up that just covers the slide. So, Google Slides or I generally use PowerPoint. Sometimes I use Canva, but I also have my notes at the bottom
Yeah.
that I'm like referring to. I don't read them word for word, but they're there.
Mhm.
And that's the one of the ways I make sure I don't miss any important points. And it works great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I'm so glad that you brought that up. I mean, I know that, kind of having a general conversation, but this is something that I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it took me this long to figure this out. But when you're recording, so I always used to have, like, I'd have, my notes on my iPad, and then, my screen capture up, and then, a camera catching my face, right? Like, so it was like this whole setup, and it was still confusing and not super easy to use. But you can actually you can use the same exact screen for what you're doing, and have your script and everything up, but not have it visible by just like choosing. I guess this works mostly in Zoom, but you can choose like what part of your screen you want to share with people. And so that was like, I was like, I'm literally can't believe, I'm so embarrassed that it took me that long to figure out, but it was so helpful from that point on, because you didn't have to have this huge setup, or your notes crinkling around trying to find all of this. And I don't know, I'm glad that you brought that up, because it does make a huge difference.
And the reality is, if you're only doing short videos, 3 to 5 minutes, so what if you mess up? You can go back and
Yeah.
record.
Yeah, totally, totally. That's awesome. Okay, so let's see. I am actually curious. I want to go back to something that you said about the different ways that you can bring people into your funnel. Because I think a lot of people are, when they think about digital products, they automatically go to Facebook ads, and Facebook ads is obviously very valuable, but the cost of that is getting more and more expensive,
Yes.
and the quality of the leads that you're bringing in is, I think for some getting better, for others, not getting better, not being quality, or the type of quality leads that they used to be. So what are some of the other places that people can draw in an audience from?
So I'm very excited to jump into this. I am a former Facebook ad and Instagram ad consultant. So
Okay,
I'm
awesome.
extremely familiar with Facebook and Instagram ads. I will say that I don't run them a lot in my business because my cost per lead is extremely high, just in the niche that I'm serving and everything. But in terms of traffic strategies, what I have found is I focus on several different things. One is PR type stuff. So, very similar to what we're doing today, being a guest on a podcast or, other type of written interviews, speaking at summits, speaking at virtual summits. Another strategy that has worked extremely well for my business is participating in industry bundles. So I'll give you a little bit more details on what this means. One is it could be free or paid. So basically, the end user opts in to this bundle where a group of business owners have come together to provide some sort of value to that customer. And normally it's digital products. So maybe they're giving away ebooks or valuable PDFs, but most likely a lot of it's mini courses. Going back to what I was saying earlier about mini courses. So those bundles can be paid. So it could be that they pay, $99 or whatever the price point is, and then they get a group of courses in that bundle. So those have worked very well for me from a traffic perspective and getting leads into my business. The other thing that I do want to mention is I did launch a book on Amazon this year. And in my book, I have a free course for anybody who buys the book. So I get leads every day into my business that are coming into that course. And basically, it's an audio course that supplements the book. So that's done very well for me. So that's another traffic strategy. But one of the main traffic strategies that I have today, and I will say that this wasn't an overnight type thing, is the SEO to my website. So I did place a lot of emphasis on blogging and getting that SEO juice, if you would, for my website. That is helping tremendously. And a lot of people that are coming into my business today, I asked them where they found me, and a lot of them were telling me it's a Google search. So that's something else that's working for me. I'm trying to think what else. You get some traffic, obviously, from social media. So people finding you on the social media. The other thing I do is podcasting. Now, one of the things I have found in my business, and some other people that it might be different for them. I haven't found that podcasting is necessarily driving traffic to my business, but I use it more as a brand awareness tool because the podcast obviously gets distributed on all the podcast platforms. So Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the others. So that is definitely a brand awareness tool. And then I think I mentioned speaking at virtual summits, but I do place a lot of emphasis on that too. So as you can see, it's a bunch of different traffic strategies, and all, they're all non-paid, right? I didn't mention anything about paid advertising there. Now, for the summit that I am hosting a summit in September. I may do some Facebook and Instagram ads just to fill up that summit, but that's a live event where it's going to be a very targeted, like 2-week period where we're going to be focused on getting people and inviting them to the event. But majority of the traffic strategies for my business are all organic.
That's cool. And so I love that because, there's not a huge investment that you have to be making in this. It can be pretty risk-free beside, I guess outside of the time that you're investing in recording and things like that. But I think even that, a lot of people do, they'll do beta launches, right? Where they don't even develop the content until they have a few people that are signed up, and then they just they just record those sessions and use them, for their course. But so that's super awesome. And I think it's also really great. It ties into, a lot of the other folks that we've brought onto the show this year are marketing or, product development or, something along those lines, really customer facing or really customer focused, I guess. and or client focused. And the theme that is coming out of a lot of those conversations is like going back to what I would consider kind of traditional marketing methods, that it's not about like, dropping a couple $1,000s on an ad campaign. It's just like reaching out to the network that you already have, and really creating genuine relationships. And then you've got, with the funnels that you have people, the evergreen funnels that you have people setting up, then they can ask them to share it with their friends, right? So you're bringing them in free or for free, and then you can encourage them to share it if they like it, and get something out of it, and that's free too. You kind of double, and an easy way to double up on the people that are coming in the door. So
And I
that's
love
great.
that. And I liked what you mentioned kind of about the networking. So I do place a lot of emphasis on that in my business, is how I found the speakers for my summit. A lot of them have just been, business friends of mine, and that I've met either by, being on somebody else's podcast, or them coming on my podcast, or just networking in various events. So I think that's a very important point that you're making.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes it, I mean, it seems like it's a little bit more work, but I think, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably about the same as, really focusing on Facebook ads and making sure that they're working for you. So, yeah, that's great. So I guess along those lines, if that's what you're focusing on, is, this organic traffic, and utilizing, the connections that you already have, or creating new connections, like, when does it make sense for a business to add a course? Is it like, do you need to be an established business, or is it something that, somebody just starting out could do successfully?
I don't know that there's ever a right or wrong time necessarily to do that. The only thing I would say is, for somebody who is completely brand new, they do need to spend some time, right, building their audience, or maybe even serving some of their first clients, to really get to know them, because you have to build a course. Even though you're teaching what you know, but you still have to know your audience and how you can help them. And one of the best ways to do that is that one-on-one work, whether you're doing freelance work or service provider work, and really working closely with that client. And if you've done that and you feel confident in that, I would say, go ahead,
Yeah.
validate your course and get moving forward, because you're ready.
Okay. Awesome. That's great. Okay, that's good to know and super helpful. Let's see, what else? I guess, what is it? I mean, maybe you've already said this, but it might be helpful just to reiterate this for folks. Like, what does it actually take to build and launch a course?
So, and I'll just go back to a little bit about what we talked about before. You need to have your course idea, which a lot of you, if you're already a freelancer or service designer out there, or service provider out there, you have an idea of what you want to do, and you just need to do a little validation there. But the next step would be to create your outline. And especially if you're just starting with a mini course, think about the 3 to 5 steps that you would do to walk somebody through to get that quick win. And then just think about what other supplemental material that they might need. So maybe it's a checklist or a cheat sheet or something like that. Record your videos, which we've already talked about, and there's a ton of free resources out there to record videos. They don't have to be perfect, and they definitely shouldn't be long. So once you get your videos created, then you're ready to upload them into the online course platform. The one thing I do want to mention here, because a lot of people get kind of tripped up, if you would, in selecting, where should I upload my, what should I use? Should I use Teachable, Thinkific, Podia? I mean, there's tons of them out there. The market's flooded with them. The reality is, whatever platform you use, that's not going to determine your success. They all do about the same. You can even host it on your own WordPress site if you're extremely technical, but just get it out there. Once it's uploaded, then you can put together a sales page, or you can use a checkout page for your course platform. A lot of people will do that, especially just for a mini course. And then you're ready to start promoting it. Now, one of the things I will say, to put together your sales funnel, going back to what we talked about related to these evergreen or automated sales funnels, one of the best ways to get started, and I would recommend this for everybody, have your free lead magnet. As you set up your nurture sequence, you can promote your mini course, right? And then, you can do it throughout the nurture sequence. Generally, that's going to be, probably 7 to 10 days long. And you're going to be sending out, anywhere from like 5 to 8 emails in that. So just take them on the buyer's journey, but make sure that you're promoting your course. Once you get your sales funnel set up, the other thing I just want to mention is, you can always promote your course. You can put it on your website. You can put it on a link on social media. You can have someplace on your website that says how to work with me or work with me. And underneath that, you can have your course option, and then you can have your services option, just to give people, different options there. But that would be some of the first steps that I would do to get started.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for breaking that down and like I said, reiterating it, because I think it is helpful, and I think part of the challenge for people is wrapping their head around all of the things that have to be done. And I think when you're doing it alone, when you're going the DIY route, you kind of stumble into I think oftentimes some of the things that you have to do. So thank you for that. That's great. And then is there anything else, like any last things you want to leave people with, if they're thinking about starting a course?
Yeah, the biggest advice I would give somebody is, don't be a perfectionist, right? Your customers, your future students, they're not looking for this beautifully polished course. They don't care, quite frankly. It could just be you doing a screen recording of your computer, walking them through some steps about how you do something. It could just be you, doing a screen recording of a PowerPoint presentation where you walk through the steps that they need to do to accomplish whatever you're teaching them on. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can always go back and update it later. You can make any changes after you get feedback from folks. Just get it out in the marketplace, start marketing it, because the marketing part is sometimes more challenging than the creation of it, but start talking about it. Present it to people who want to work for you but can't afford your services. If they don't buy, they might buy in the future, or you can get feedback from them in terms of why they think it might not work for them. But start marketing it, because going out there and doing those steps will get you moving forward in the steps in the right direction.
Yeah, how long does it usually take for people to build? So not to build the actual course itself, but to get to a point where they're seeing the consistent revenue that they had planned on.
A lot of it just depends on their traffic, right? How many eyeballs are getting on their offer. Some people will come to me and say, my course isn't selling. But when you really start digging into what's going on, only 10 people signed up for their free offer, and that's just not enough data. So you really have to constantly promote it, and I would say promote it more than you feel comfortable promoting it. We think that we're promoting our stuff all the time, but the reality is people aren't seeing the majority of your social media posts. They're not reading or opening up all your emails. We think they are. We think they're consuming all of our content, right? But the reality is they're not. And they might not even know that you have the course to sell. So you have to promote more than you think you should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's so many ways. I think this is another thing that I love about courses, being somebody that's not super comfortable with sales, is that there are so many ways to tell people about it, to market it, that don't seem like you're asking for something, but seem like you're providing, like you're giving something. So I'm glad that you brought that up. That's a really great distinction too.
I like that. Just helping them. That's all you're doing.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, and even when you were talking about it, or you were talking about something else, having it on your website as, an option, I was thinking, wow, there's so many people that feel so uncomfortable. So many entrepreneurs that feel so uncomfortable when somebody's like, I can't afford your services, right?
Mhm.
Like we feel like a lot of entrepreneurs feel like, okay, well, I'll just this one time, like they really deserve it. I'll lower my prices or, whatever. It feels uncomfortable. And wow, what an amazing option to say, I totally get it. And here you can still utilize my services, or you can still, you learn from my services with this course that's much cheaper than my regular stuff. So that's cool. Great. Well, awesome, Destiny. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for sharing. I mean, I feel like you shared so much. I know that this was really valuable for anybody that's considering doing a course. And then I will put up just one last time your website. So if anybody is interested in finding out more about the work that you do or working with you, you can visit destinicopp.com. And thank you so much for being here today.
Angie, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed being here. And the other thing I just want to mention, if people are interested, if they like podcasts, definitely check out the Course Creators MBA podcast. So we tell stories of ordinary course creators. So none of that, you're going to make $1 million type thing. We really did the business and really just to understand how long it took them to get to where they are today and what success they're seeing in their business.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, that's super inspiring, super helpful too. Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much, Destiny.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. Rate and review this podcast and share it with all of your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you're leaving with some great things that can help you move from hustle to flow, because I believe in you and your business. Until next time.